They should. Yes. Mhm. 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 Okay. I just go live now. You have to understand. One, no, that's their power. Mm-mm. 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 No, because I'm pulling whole cards. Mm-mm. Um, mm-mm. Some reason my audio's been disconnecting all day. Hit a one in the chat if you could be able to hear me. Mm, mm, mm. Okay. All right. Okay. So I have to be honest. I wasn't really fair with people with my actual criticism that was up there. But I know unserious political people when I see them and when I hear them. None of this stuff is that hard to get. None of it is that hard to get. What's going on, Justin Marsh? Thanks for the $5 super sticker. So what we're gonna do, because people want the convenience of looking like they're on the right, but they're not organizing on the right. Like the example that I gave was that that guy has a system that already works for him. We don't have a system that works for us, right? So you have to understand that the very first thing that you have to do is you have to choose a side. That's number one. That's the first thing that you have to do. Because people come up to the panel with their ever so changing number of arguments when it comes to, and we're not going to be talking noise about anybody in the chat, but you have to understand where people are serious and where they are not serious. So here's why you choose a side. You choose a side, then you have to track the movement all the way back to its first beginning. When black people did have a choice in the South, they chose the Republican Party. That is not the Republican Party of today. It's not. It's nowhere near that type of party of today. And this is why you're always outnumbered 10-1, because you can't make the claim that they're the party of black people liberation, and then you have the Willie Horton Act that changed the course of history. Then you had the actual 2000 presidential election race, where they decided that black people's votes wasn't going to count in a very specific district that was mostly for black people. What do I mean by both of those particular things? If you are a Republican, you have to answer for that. You have to show, if you chose conservatism and Republican politics as where you're going to be, you have to show a track record of being a conservative. Like most of these conservatives actually voted for Hillary Clinton. Treason to MBD on the panel. He was always a Democrat. He just became a Republican. Angry man. Street dude. You only need a whole bunch of liberal women to make street things happen within the environment. Because if that wasn't the case, you would be seeing street people all over the actual conservative environment, which they don't have. This whole thing about this, every time they open their mouth, they're always talking about LGBTQ or black women without recognizing that LGBTQ and black women are on the other side too, or feminism. Neither side has done anything about either of those issues. But to try to make it look like it's a one-sided issue is laughable. It's laughable. No, the independents are growing in numbers, BK, from the Rockies, is because they're embarrassed about the party that they picked. Just like all those people became independents after George W. Bush got out of office. I don't believe people who are independents, because independents also have a take a side. You just can't call yourself an independent and be taken seriously, because independents have to caucus, which means team up with a specific side of the aisle in order to get their stuff passed. An example of this, Bernie Sanders, an independent from Vermont. He has to caucus with the Democrats. Why? Because there's no independent party. So when people call themselves an independent, they're actually calling themselves not part of the conversation. Independents in most states can't vote in the primary because they haven't declared a party. So why would they allow an independent to sabotage a party that they are not a part of? That's why they started locking out independents in the election system. Again, this election came down to 4 cities: Madison, Wisconsin, Atlanta, Georgia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I forgot the other one. I used to have it wrote down, but yeah. You have to understand that the Conservative Party, after they gutted the Voting Rights Act, which pretty much said, because of the dirty tricks that the conservatives in the South were pulling on people, hold on a second. This thing's trying to reset. Hold on a second. We start tonight. Pick a time, pick a time, pick a time. Yeah. So, yeah, Detroit, Michigan. I'm sorry. That was the last one. Detroit, Michigan. In those particular cities, they have a lot of black people in those cities. This is why they were ramping up the effort to purge voter rolls. There's no need for that process, as we can see now, what their actual idea that they wanted to do with it was. So what they were doing, and this goes into why elections were called at midnight. So you have to understand that provisional ballots, under normal circumstances, I know in Colorado they're counted right away. That's why our stuff is posted right away. But in other states, they wait the next day or even additional time to count those provisional ballots. So if they call the election at midnight, how would they be able to count all those provisional ballots? You know, the people who normally ended up with those provisional ballots, people within black areas. So you got a placebo ballot to where you actually participated, but nobody really ever counted your vote. I changed my actual voter registration during Obama's second term from Colorado to a place within deeper within the Midwest. I guess you can call it the South. And they did the same thing to me. Even though I own a place in the area, that's what happened. So you have to understand that you can't say that you don't have a side to take. Oh, you got a side to take. And you got to stop thinking that people are serious when they talk about LGBTQ, how many seats that black women have, and feminism. That tells me that you are a culture warrior, that you don't care about politics. You care about running game on people within the environment because they're not politically astute. Because calling yourself a conservative, and you're conservative for all these reasons that has nothing to do with the fact that state legislatures and actual federal judges are actually voting on the actual right or deciding whether or not these actual people get the vote that look like you. So you have to understand that all these people who claim that they want progress, because y'all like the video, apparently we got some people in here downvoting the video. So if y'all could take a second to like the video. Yeah, same here. Sole Provider Speaks. I call them YouTube conservatives. You're right. Like I said, this is a very, very, very easy thing to fix. It's either you do have the right to vote or you don't have the right to vote. That's the only thing that's the problem here. Oh, just a thank for the $5 super chat. Oh man, I really don't care about that. I care about people being informed about the process so that way you don't have to worry about whether or not you're being lied to. Because these people do want to keep pushing this narrative. You have to understand, once you outsource things that are your responsibility, like knowing the history of the country that you are part of, like knowing what's actually on the ballot, and actually know how the Supreme Court worked. They didn't even know how the Supreme Court worked. They had no idea that the Supreme Court gave or affirmed LGBT rights. But these are the same people who are depending on the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. How can we be talking about the same things? And yes, the reason why his lawyer, who paid off Stormy Daniels with that campaign money, the person who ordered it is going to get the same crime as he did, the person who went to jail for it. That's not an opinion, that's factual information. So we're going to go into the second step. Now that you've chosen a side, step number 2, That's step number two. Knowing the history of the party that you're actually a part of. Because again, we got to stop thinking that we got to keep arguing about things that's already settled. One, you have to choose a side. And I'm not talking about no independent. I don't consider you part of the conversation. Because being an independent allows you to only take the things that you want and dismiss the things that you don't, while throwing all the things that really one side, which I think is a problem. Because a lot of people want to do those things, but they're not invested in the process. Again, Marjorie Taylor Greene saying all the crazy stuff she said. How many of these so-called conservatives or independents or people who are not political, but you definitely know what side they're on? How did they skip that? Where was the actual live streams about criminal activity at the actual Capitol on January 6th? Where was the live streams about how many times these people filed all these lawsuits about what happened with voting within these particular states? Yes, you have to understand. Once we get past circling the wagons, trying to figure out what history is what, that's when we can make progress. Biscuit, they only wanted to label progressivism as everything that's bad and conservatism as everything that's good. But when you're gaming people who don't know political history, it's easy to do that. This is why knowing the history of your party is important. So that way you don't try to call Jim Crow South progressivism when it was actually conservatism. That's the problem. They know you don't know the history. And that's pretty much how these things keep going within the environment. They don't know. And the reason why people have to organize is because we collectively don't have any power. I mean, we may talk a lot of noise about the LGBTQ, but why don't you take a page out of their playbook? They had people on the left, and then they had the log cabin Republicans on the right. They keep thinking that, oh, lefty equal feminist, lefty equal LGBTQ, lefty equal abortion. No, there are people on the conservative side who are pro-life. And now that they have the power in the Supreme Court to actually remove Roe v. Wade, they're still not doing it. But before, there was challenging of local trials to the Supreme Court when they knew they couldn't win. They knew it was 5-4 the other way. There's a record of this. There's history of this. Renaissance man, I sent you an actual link. I emailed it to you, Mike B as well, if he's out there. So you have to understand that it's easy to game black people. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, that was me. So you have to understand that people are running game on you in this environment thanks to your lack of political interest. How about now? Better? So what you guys got to understand is that this stuff really isn't that hard. is still based on history. The history that is not hiding. And Edward Johnson, they know this. They're they're conservatives because they come to work on time, because they do everything they want to do in society, except hold their party responsible for what they do in the legislature. They're not Republican or conservative when it comes to that. Like, politics is a serious business. You can't be around unserious people trying to shine off of politics, dude. We ain't got time for that. The women organized on one side and they're not sharing power at all. That's what happened. So the same people claim that they're good at these liberal women, because there ain't no conservative women, apparently. You can only be good at the liberal women. Because apparently promiscuity and feminism is only a liberal sided issue. It isn't both sides for some reason. This stuff can easily be solved, man. Easily be solved. So what I'm going to do, because I was going to do a separate live stream on these tactics, I will show you how people actually debate within the black space of YouTube to cover up the fact that they don't know the history of politics. Because you're going to see why nobody really wants to go on the Prophet of Thought series to have a debate, because it turns into a screaming and a shouting match. Because when you show up with 1 or 2 points and they have 1,000 points worth of trolling, you need to know what type of debate tactic that is. Here's the first one. Especially when you have an unmoderated panel that let people so-called rock, this is the first one. The Gish Gallop. Now, when you're talking about a very specific thing, this is how the conversation turns into a troll fest. The Gish Gallop is a technique that attempts to overwhelm an opponent by excessive number of arguments without regard for accuracy or strength of those arguments. This is what happened.
What's up, MOT?
What's going on, man?
Now, I wanted to quickly add on this. Like I was telling you, I used to be a debater in high school. That tactic, they used to call that in debate, they'd call that spreading.
Yeah.
That's what that was. You'd make so many arguments against someone, and they'd spend all their time trying to argue against nonsensical points. And then at the end of the debate, you'd say, oh, well, this person didn't address this point accurately, so I won.
Correct. And so while he says a whole bunch of stuff and he's quote unquote let him rock, that's what happens on those type of panels, because the person actually believes in the bullshit that the person's coming out of his mouth with. So I come to argue a singular point, then it turns into 1,000 points being shot out at the same time. And when you got Treason, the NBD, just unmuting and saying stupid ass shit, but he never told him to shut the fuck up ever, right? This is why you can't have debates. This is why black men are not serious about politics. It's very clear what that debate tactic is. And now I'm going to go to another debate tactic, which is all of what they do outside of, Hold on a second. Wrong thing shared. Because these people have an agenda to keep you politically dependent on them for politics and answers to questions. You have to understand that's why this is. There aren't, yes, you need to understand what this is. I'm going to be putting links in the actual description box. So when you see when people can't stay on topic or whether it turns into a troll fest, that's what this is, the Gish Gallop. So now I'm going to go to the second actual topic here. So that way we can be able to get that under control too. All right, hold on a second. I'm trying to get this up. Damn, I had it yesterday.
Now, I would like to see. I don't know
Yeah, go ahead.
if there's room in the manosphere for it. An actual like moderated, structured debate. I don't even know if some of these guys would show up for it, where you actually gotta, you can't yell over each other in crossfire. You gotta actually go one for one and answer each other's questions. No name calling.
No,
None of that.
I'm about to go into that. Okay, so the debates that are on Teapot and how we have conversations throughout the Black Manosphere is part of this type of structured debate, and there are four types. It's called the ad hominem fallacy. So let me put this up on the screen so that way I'm only letting you know this so that way you can know exactly how these people are running game on you and how everything that is a debate turns into a back and forth. All right, ad hominem fallacies. So these are the four types of fallacies. And this is how this stuff kind of works within the space of YouTube. And this is what Angry Man does a lot, the abusive version of the ad hominem fallacy. An abusive attack against someone making an argument instead of addressing the argument themselves. The abusive form and type is when they try to make fun of people, whenever they want to see your face, whenever they want to do all this other stuff, when the only thing they have to do is address the question at hand. Really not that hard. What you got on that?
Yeah. That goes into a lot of when you see guys when we always have to push back on the arguments about we go into culture warrior of like real men vote here, or that's all of that. Or when you start bringing up the, different communities that they perceive as only on the left, that's all of this right here.
And what we're going to do going forward is we're going to show you what happens when you are a Black conservative and you run up against somebody who actually knows the issues and topics and how dumb people look, actually trying to be a part of that conversation. The next one is the circumstantial version of it. Suggestion that someone's argument is motivated by their personal circumstances and therefore should be invalid. Again, all this troll stuff. The Hood Conservative does this a lot. Traded NBD does this a hell of a lot because it's nothing but another form of trolling. And the third version is the 2Q quo, claiming that someone's argument must be false because it's not consistent with their past actions or words. Again, this has nothing to do with the singular argument in hand. This is why this turns into a troll fest, and this is why they talk over people and they lob a whole bunch of personal insults, because the people listening are not here for factual information. They're here to see a show and to people fight each other. Go ahead, Renaissance.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at it just boils down on that last one, just moving the goalpost essentially.
Correct.
That's all I'm gonna. So I see that there's a point being made. So let me shift to something completely unrelated.
Correct.
And try to say, oh, this is invalid. So some of that was happening on Art's panel there, a couple Fridays ago too.
Yeah. I mean, but see, it's a way of trolling the actual debate topic. And when they don't throw you off the actual stage for doing this, you allow this person to run all over the other person. So now the person seemed more right because they made more points, but we've got lost in translation the actual reason why we showed up to the debate to debate a singular issue. Because these issues are not hard. It's just that people are not deliberately are not trying to have the conversation. And the other one, the guilt by association. When the source of an argument is discredited to the association with something negative. This is what I mean by people, culture warriors who use the words the left, left wing, LGBT is just the left, abortion is just a left wing issue, um, feminism is just a left-wing issue. This is the guilt by association version of the ad hominem argument. This is why people who think that Lil Big Nate is actually smart when he's a mentally retarded child. And I'm going to show you what happens when you bring people like Little Big Nate who don't know how to argue points into an actual discussion about policy.
Yeah. This guilt by association and abusive, those two can kind of go hand in hand because that's the two places where they either attack you and say you're a part of this, the left and all these other things, or they'll say, oh, your policy is leftist, and then they'll try to associate you with it.
Yeah. And it's like, look, they have a 7-2 Supreme Court. And conveniently, everybody on the panel did not understand that the actual LGBT rights were affirmed by the actual Supreme Court. The 5-4 decision. And now they could unaffirm that if they sue over the same thing, if they send another case back up to the Supreme Court. But see, they're not going to make the right go on the record on this issue. Another issue is the Affordable Care Act. How many times have they challenged up laws to try to overturn parts of the Affordable Care Act so the Affordable Care Act won't work? A ton of times. They're still doing it now. But
I don't quickly say Trump led that charge, and I think a bunch of people in the Republican Party, I think they were just using it as rhetoric.
Yeah, they were.
Because here's the thing, Trump, they knew that, hey, if we really challenge and take down the Affordable Care Act, that's going to affect our base just as much, if not more, than the left.
Correct.
They just don't understand that. And see, Trump really didn't either understand it and didn't really care. He just wanted to knock it out because it was Obama's legacy.
Correct. And what these people don't understand is about the Affordable Care Act that they didn't do in Black communities. They went county by county and started setting up community health centers right in their community. So if they were to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, these people who normally didn't have access to health care would lose it because they overturned the decision. I mean, it's cute rhetoric and all, but at the end of the day, you're going to be hurting a lot of people if you were to overturn that.
Yeah, that's why I say when you start hearing the rhetoric on healthcare, Republicans have known about healthcare since Hillary Clinton, since early 90s when she was, they had Hillary Care back then. So, you've had well over, almost 2 decades now to come up with a alternative solution that you think is viable, besides trying to defend the current system or repeal any reform that's been put in place by Democrats.
The Affordable Care Act was the alternative, other than socialized medicine. That was the alternative, was the Affordable Care Act. That was passed in Massachusetts.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you even had when they were talking about when Bernie Sanders got up there talking about universal health care, you actually had Republicans ended up trying to defend Obamacare, saying, "No, we need to improve it."
Yeah, what's going on, Mike?
Hey, peace to the panel, peace to the chat, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're actually going over steps to take people seriously in politics, because we have these people who are, quote unquote, I haven't chosen a side, but I'm only going to exclusively use one side's talking points against the other people, and we got to stop that from happening within the society and environment. So it's like this. This isn't hard. Politics is actually very easy if you want to move forward politically. This is why other groups of people are not out here debating politics. They know what their issues are, but see, a lot of people in black space of YouTube gain a lot of power and actually muddying the waters because politics is actually very simple. Thanks for the 399 super chat. Greetings, MOT. Thanks for the 399 super chat, Roosevelt. Yeah, but like Mike, like this is where we're at. Like most people want to see Pookie win. They want to see Pookie run the actual environment because black people deal with things from a comfort standpoint. We don't deal with things from an actual logical and actual expertise standpoint. We want a person that we trust to do this, to go off and do heart surgery or cancer diagnostics and all that kind of stuff, rather than going to an oncologist or an actual heart surgeon to actually do those specific types of work because they're not quote unquote comfortable with those people. And a lot of people game that on black people all the time. Renaissance?
Yeah, that goes back to the discussion me and Mike were having with Art last week on his panel about the whole cube discussion about meeting, and people sort of wondering what was the big deal of him going to meet there with Sandman. I mean, we had a good exchange, but going back to the fact that hey, you need people who are qualified to do this, and Sandman was saying, even admitted that he was just saying that the respected and the expertise in the black community is not respected.
Mike?
Yeah, definitely. It's more of an optics thing for them. They have to see their face in the perspective that's being discussed. And so when it came to Cube, it was the thick beard and the scully cap and the scowl on his face. They want to see him win over other black men who are actually qualified. And so somebody like Dr. Martin Lamont Hill would have been more credible to have that conversation than, let's say, Ice Cube. So despite the fact that he didn't know what he was talking about when Roland Martin asked him, what was in the Platinum Plan versus the Lift Every Voice in your plan that had any sort of differencing or compare and contrasting, and he didn't know how to answer it because and the look on his face told you he had no idea what he was talking about. And that's what you get in this space. You have a lot of black men who want to be conservative, but they're actually liberals. You cannot be a street guy and claim to be conservative. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's all liberalism wrapped up under a different sort of monarchy or moniker to identify this sort of new grift.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to add too, the conservative, the right, is specifically very anti-Hollywood and anti-celebrity, and that's who these guys gravitate to for representation and talking points.
And that's why it's liberal. That's why it's liberal. Like, dude, listen. You don't got Clint Eastwood talking about policy over there. I mean, you got the guy who was a rocker from the NRA guy, but they don't call that dude in about serious conservative policy discussions. Like, no, man, you got to stay in your role as over there as the rabble rouser. You're the dude to get the crowd hype. You're not here to talk about policy because that's not your expertise.
Yeah, and I was going to say the only thing with Clint Eastwood, the only reason he really has a profile over there is he just came out and said, "Hey, I'm a conservative in Hollywood." It's not like he's not even one who really people, like you said, go to for opinion or anything. They just know him because he's in a place where they see is very liberal, and he's one who's come out and claimed, "Hey, I'm a conservative."
Well, they treat him the same way they treat Thomas Sowell.
Yeah,
Thomas Sowell is never called upon for anything policy-wise. They just ask him his opinion from a black economics perspective. He's never called on for anything. Trump never called on him. Trump never called on Tim Scott. Trump Trump never called on Michael Steele, Colin Powell. He never talked to any. He never talked to what's her face, Secretary of State,
Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah, Condoleezza Rice. Yeah. He never talked to any. Mia Love. He threw her under the bus, and she's a conservative herself in a conservative state.
Yeah. so, so, so it's like, what people don't understand. Mike, I want you to cue up that clip that I sent you yesterday with David Packman versus damn, what's this dude name?
Jesse Lee Peterson.
Yes, you need to understand what it looks like when a person who knows nothing about policy but just want to support some side. You need to know what that looks like. So you have to understand why they move the conversation back into trolling and all this other stuff. So we're not gonna play it yet. We're gonna play it at the end. But yeah, that's an excellent cringeworthy thing to actually look at when you force people to talk about policy and they're on a one-on-one where they can't mute nobody, they can't throw you off the panel, and you just make them answer basic questions. They look incredibly insane. So you have to understand how this game is being ran on you, because you have to understand that these people have no interest in forming black male power, especially if it depowers the women in the actual environment. They're not interested in that, because if they were interested in it, they would have done those things that I said before. Number one, they would have chose a side. Two, they would have been proving that they're actually organizing within the party that they're in. They are quickly trying to switch out this Republican base, but they can't do it because this is the only way they can get elected. It's insane.
Yeah, I came in onto the panel when you guys were talking about healthcare, Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
And I hear this a lot, that we don't want socialized medicine. We don't want socialized healthcare. But that's exactly what Black men need. Black men who during COVID were more likely to die from COVID symptoms or COVID itself than any other group within certain cities. We saw that in Wisconsin, in Kenosha. We saw that in New York City. A lot of Black men were being affected by this because they're mostly the essential workers. And so they're the ones that are usually ones on the front line, and they don't have access to quality healthcare because they're always in a what do they call that? What do you call it? The contractor sort of economy, right? They're always absent without the benefits, and so they would need quality healthcare, one that is actually affordable for them. So when you hear these guys say we don't need socialized healthcare, they don't understand that Russia already has socialized healthcare. Germany already has that. France already has that. China already has that. Yeah, the United Kingdom, National Healthcare Service, NHS. Canada already has this. Like all of your allies, your geopolitical allies already have these sort of systems in place. And you would think that if these guys were Black male first and they cared so much about the Black community and they were so conservative, why wouldn't they look out for, and they were so pro-life, why wouldn't they look out for the best health interests of Black men by having a system in place that actually looks out for that? But they don't seem to really care about that. They just care about, well, we don't want socialized healthcare. Let's get rid of Obamacare, but let's come up with a alternative system. Well, Trump had 4 years to do that. That's exactly what he ran his campaign on, that he was going to replace and repeal Obamacare. He never did that.
And this is what Mitch McConnell ran on for 8 years when Obama was in office. We kept trying to overturn it. How many times? It was kind of like the same amount of times that it took for the guy to not realize that he lost the election. Nearly the same amount of times of settled law that he kept trying to overturn something that he couldn't overturn.
Yeah, and so Black men during COVID needed quality healthcare. They didn't have access to it. The idea here is to just not have anything at all. Oh, how does that make any sense? If you're pro-life, how can that make any sense?
Yeah, and it's like this free-wielding way of trolling and really misrepresenting factual information and never learning how the stuff works to protect their level of ignorance on the actual issue is what is being ran in the environment when it comes to politics. They keep getting wrong that the parties didn't switch. No, you had Treason the MBD on the actual panel who said that Jim Crow was a progressive thing. No, Jim Crow was protecting the actual
Wait,
conservative South. Yes, he did say that. Yeah, he said that.
did he actually try to explain this, or he just made a gaslighting type statement like that?
Yeah, just a gaslighting type statement, and then just went on mute. But
Reconstruction was progressive, but
yes, it was.
but Jim Crow was not. Jim Crow was apartheid, literal apartheid. And when you have somebody talking like that, I see. I didn't hear what was said, but when you have somebody talking like that, you have to kick them off the panel. You can't make statements like Jim Crow was progressive and Woodrow Wilson was progressive and no, progressivism didn't start until the 1920s, and even then, the fear factor of it was what happened in Moscow, where you had these people take over. The Bolshevik Revolution, but that's not what was happening in the United States. They were fighting for systems of equity. Your minimum wage came out of the progressive movement. Okay.
Yes.
Social Security came out of the progressive movement.
8-hour workday.
8-hour workdays came out of the progressive movement. Labor organization came out of the progressive movement. In fact, it was labor.
40-hour work week.
Yeah. Pensions came out of the progressive movement. See, all these guys talk about these type of things, but they don't have a frame of reference for any of it. Black men working in the 1930s at the height of the collapse in 29 came out of FDR's progressive plans. A million Black men plus were given government jobs for conservation of the country and building highways and bridges.
Don't forget about the Pullman Porters Union.
Yeah,
and A. Philip Randolph.
A. Philip Randolph, who he himself redressed his government under FDR to get Black men into these military-industrial contracts to manufacture guns and ammunition and other things, and all of the your construction workers inside the military, the people who were laying down runways and things like that. That was Black men who laid all that down. That came out of progressive discourse between A. Philip Randolph and FDR. And then later, the full integration of the military itself and the GI Bill. I don't understand how you can stand up here and say, I'm a Black male progressive, and how can you be a Democrat as a Black man, or how can you claim to be a progressive as a Black man and not understand the history of progressivism and only align it with the Ku Klux Klan or Jim Crow? That doesn't even make any sense. Like, we have to stop having these conversations with people on panels who don't know history, who don't have a frame of reference.
And it's a circular argument because they're trying to just rabble rouse the people who are currently there. Like, the arguments fit conveniently within the ignorance of the people who are actually there. Yes, Justin March is right. They just want to work on pounds. Hold on a second. Let me get to this super chat. Thanks for the $10 super chat, number 016. The No Socialized Healthcare Group Love asking for people to donate to their GoFundMe when insurance does not cover the whole bill. No socialized medicine, but when you're losing your house to medical debt, yes. What do you think that whenever these people, kinfolks, die over some unfortunate crime in the area, they come to the general public through GoFundMe to actually get these people buried? But that's not considered socialist or communist at all. All right, man. Yeah, so it's just this. We have to have this conversation so that way you can understand why these things happen on these panels, because these people are invested in things not getting better. They're invested. This is why they talk about things that ain't got nothing to do with Black male so-called power. They're concentrated on the LGBT's power, the women's power, the feminist power, nothing about building our own power, because it takes learning the history of it so that way it can't be leveraged against you for entertainment purposes, which is what this whole thing is about, definitely, at this point.
Yeah, I was just going to add one more as well. The FHA, Fair Housing Act, came out of the progressive movement.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing where all of this. Let's look at it modern day, right? The social equity initiative for legalization of cannabis came out of the progressive movement.
Yes.
The people who are mostly impacted by this were Black men. So the ability to start a cannabis business would benefit greatly Black men by and large, since they were the ones mostly impacted by it. That came out of the progressive movement. Here in Boston, a white man can't start a business in a predominantly Black area until Black men start it first. Those are the rules. Those are the structures that progressives actually argued for and got passed. $15 minimum wage is a progressive plan. I mean, where exactly is all of this LGBTQ or all of this rainbow flag argument coming from? Why do you only focus on that, but you don't focus on the areas of activity that would benefit Black men?
Yeah, so here's the other thing. Okay, we got all this stuff on the progressive side. Can the conservatives tell us what they're about? Like when do they start talking about their track record? Because they don't have one. That's the issue. They don't have a track record. So you have to understand that it's easy to leverage this against people who are not doing anything. You know what it's called? When somebody expects everybody else to work on their behalf and they be actually rewarded just as equally for their non-work. That's what the socialist and communist type of thing is. But this is where these people are. No party affiliation, even though we know which side that they're on. Because you could pull up any AM radio and go through the actual AM radio dial and sit there and listen, and you will hear all of these exact same talking points. Not for people who are Black, but like you'll be able to see this and hear it. Yeah. This is why you can't take people in politics seriously, because they haven't done the work.
Decriminalization of marijuana, another progressive agenda. The tossing out of stop and frisk, something that impacted Black men greatly. Another progressive agenda passed.
Yeah, I was gonna add
ban the box, another one.
Yeah, no, I was going to add MOT too, going back to what you were talking about as far as the rules and engagement on debate. You hit on it a little bit when you were talking about basically these guys bring a cheering section to these debates, and those are your judges. So you don't even have the objectivity of someone looking at, okay, just this argument alone, you know, the points that he made, suspending what I know, everything else about this topic, just an objective evaluation of the debate. You don't have that. You have guys who pretty much probably don't even listen to the debate and probably show up for just the voting.
Boom. Actually, RBR just said something in the chat that is what the crux of and the problem is. Thanks for the $5 super chat, RBR. The game is to keep those knowledgeable about politics out of the debate so their people can win. Yeah, affirmative action. For people who don't know shit about politics. That's all it's about. Having these people up there grandstand about, oh, you're going to put my son in a dress. And it's like the crowd goes wild. I'm like, what is this dude talking about? But yeah, number 3. You have to prove that you're organizing on your side. Remember, we don't have any representation as a whole. We have representation for men on the progressive side. Mike just told you about all the things that help Black men. What are you organizing on the conservative side? Outside of talking about cultural issues, what are you organizing on that side of the ticket? This is why you can't say you're an independent. You are independent who caucus with who again in your state? Because some states, you can actually get away with that. But some other states, you actually have to prove that you're actually doing something. You have to have a track record. There is no covering of the actual things that go on in politics. The only thing that happened is they tried to run in at the end. They thought the dude was going to win in a landslide. It didn't happen. Now they out there looking crazy. And then you have the issue that happened on the 6th. More looking crazy. Now you got the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing going on. Not a word, even though y'all supposed to be on this side. But well, how can you be a progressive? It's called the track record.
Exactly.
Renaissance.
Yeah, no, it goes back to it when you don't have to do the research. And then that goes back to the lack of organization. If you go and engage with these people, they're going to look at you crazy when they see you haven't done the basic research, but you're over here claiming to be a part of it. Especially if you go over there trying to influence something. Now they'll let you be over there and not know anything as long as you jump in line and do it and follow the party line.
And
But
throw your left vote away.
Yeah, but you can't be over there trying to vie for a position and then not knowing what you're talking about to begin with.
No, I hear a lot of guys have an issue with Stacey Abrams,
Yeah.
And what they don't realize is the Black Voters Black Vote Matters was used to organize Black men who were actually purged from the rolls. A lot of them were Black men purged from the rolls. And so getting those Black men back on the rolls to vote in 2020 is actually what tipped the scales of the election in itself. And so when I hear people say these type of things like, oh, well, the election was stolen, but they still never provide any evidence.
None.
It's a lot of disinformation that is being spread for the purpose of not actually having to engage intellectually in the discussion. It's all in bad faith.
Yeah, but you have to understand, Mike, that it actually provides cover for people who've never been involved in the process at all. And it legitimizes them not being involved with the process. That's kind of what the issue is. If these people don't understand, that's the game that they're running. They're running the actual game of, I'm not going to be involved with the process and you shouldn't either. Because if people get involved and they see something happening, because there's always something happening for Black people, it's just never covered. At the end of the day, all this stuff that was happening thus far now, there's going to be so much stuff in the first 100 days that is going to pale in comparison to like years. So what I'm just simply saying is that the moment we can sit down and have a serious conversation, we're done with it forever. But see, there's a lot more money being made out of not having people politically involved in the actual conversation. And that's what I don't understand, because they claim that they want all this progress, right? But making no steps. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, what's interesting is that Fred Hampton did something that was actually really progressive himself, and he was a Black Panther. Your Minute clinics came out of Fred Hampton's think tank itself, or at least his initiative back then. And he was only 21, which is why you have Minute clinics today. These sort of urban clinics that you see in some of these low income areas that came out of Fred Hampton in the progressive movement itself. The Black Panther Party wasn't just about being militant. There was actually initiatives being put on the table that actually made sense back then. That actually
school lunch. School lunch.
Yeah,
like I said,
breakfast programs and things of that nature.
Like I said, number 16 again for the $20 super chat. Thanks for your support. These hood conservatives seem to get easily tricked and confused about right-wing messages and have no problem spewing this garbage out. They have nothing to really speak about but WS, conspiracy theories, and talking points. Yes, they claim to be for Black men, but they want to team up with some of the worst people on the planet in order to make some type of progress, when the crux of their party is about nothing for you. American rights are for us. They're not for you. Yeah, Meals on Wheel. Yeah, you are correct. Meals on Wheel, another progressive something that program that helps a lot of people. And it's like, You have to realize that these programs are not hiding. They're here. You just don't know about them. And what it is, so much of that, you have to understand that most of these people understanding of politics only comes whenever they can benefit.
Yeah, antitrust laws in labor organization. A lot of black men were kept out of big labor organizations due to the racism coming from the right. And so what happened here was antitrust laws actually said that in the 14th Amendment also said that because of equal protection under the law, you had to let these black men into these sort of labor organizations. Those were progressive ideas back then. You know, there was a lot of pushback from people on the right who were saying, no, we should hoard all the resources for ourselves as white men and keep the black men out of it. But if you let people in this space tell it, they'll tell you that, you know, you shouldn't go back through history. The reason why they don't want to go back through history is because these ideas were already on the table long before they were even born.
Yeah, and they can't defend the history. This is why they never talk about it. Or they glance over it and they try to misdirect it. Because as RBR said, they just want to keep the informed people out of the conversation. Because once you have the conversation the way it needs to be had, all the way to the end of it, there's really no need for all of this non-organizing. Now you have, I'm not going to say any of those names, but the pro-blacks and how they had all this problem with Trump, but now that Biden's in, they're still not doing anything. Having 7,500 people in their chat and still are not doing anything. And it's crazy. And it's like, dude, if you actually cared about these people, it's very simple. You can be the face of it. You can have a hell of a lot more power organizing these people. But at the end of the day, they don't want any progress. They like things the way it is right now.
Well, now you have,
they don't have to, because they don't have to invest anything and they get actual money from actually the thing not working. So they're not going to do that.
Now you have people talking about cryptocurrencies. In 2021, you're talking about cryptocurrencies now, right? Digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, digital banking would greatly benefit black men because black men are the most unbanked and underbanked demographic in this country. That's why you have Western Union and checks cashes and these other predatory institutions inside black neighborhoods, because black men are more likely not to have more likely to be underbanked or unbanked. And so you would think that these guys would talk about digital currencies and cryptocurrencies from that perspective, but they're only talking about it from a grifter's perspective, where when we were talking about it on the Black Brain Trust and on BGS's panels, we were told, you know, we were educated lames who needs to talk about it. We explained it pretty well. And so we decided to create a platform that could actually discuss that every Friday for the last 3 years. And now all of a sudden in 2021, the same people who didn't want to talk about it in 2017, 2016, suddenly they want to talk about it now. It's another grift. That's all these people do is grift. They when they need to create a new sort of talking point, they have to go to the next trending topic that's hashtag in social media.
Yeah, it's they do have it, but essentially you don't have a big picture vision or theme for your channel. It's move to what's profitable versus you have a channel like this one that's specifically dedicated to development, improving men for tomorrow, or, you know, the Brain Trust, where, you know, you focus on technology and fourth industrial revolution. So they don't really have a theme to their channels.
Well, what I'm saying is that other groups of people, like the Latinos, they're not sitting around having conversations like this. They're not. They're able to work within their demographic, form families, and actually have people on both sides do their stuff politically and locally where they are. They don't have a political class of grifters who are out here stagnating the conversation for their own benefit. They don't have that. They really don't have that over there. They really don't have it in most Asian communities that I'm in. They don't have that. Like, yeah, progressivism worked like hell through the Denver metro area. You could clearly see what places have taxation and the stuff works and what places doesn't. All you have to do is compare Lyman, Colorado, Grand Junction, Colorado, to the actual mountain areas where where actual things are at, and the actual Denver metro area. It's pretty obvious who's actually running things in the actual state. The blue areas. Nobody wants to live in those areas unless you got your stuff ridiculously together. Longmont, Loveland, Greeley. There's places where you don't want to live.
Well, I'm telling you. That's the thing, that they who claim to be conservative, the black male conservative, they always live in blue states. They never want to go to a red state where they need to, caucus with their people. What's the bullet point number 4, MOT?
All right, the bullet point number 4 is you can't be out here trolling on cultural issues and call yourself one side or another. You have to understand that the reason why no one is clout chasing the left, because you don't get any social currency out of doing that. You only do it on the right because you're not required to do anything over there. You could just come in saying that you're conservative for reasons that don't make any sense. You can make claims that you're the only person who's pro-family or even responsible. That's what it is. So bullet point number 4 is none of this trolling. Like, dude, you don't see any Asians or Latins or even people who are Native Americans coming out trying to grift off of the LGBT, feminism, and these other issues. They don't even do that.
Yeah, intersectionality.
Yeah, they don't even care or even do about those things. Because if you're concentrated on your own power, you would only be concentrated on your own power. And the only reason why I bring this up with those people is because they're stagnating the entire process.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that Andrew Yang, who's a Taiwanese American, is running for mayor of, who ran for president last year, is actually running for mayor now. He has a lot of backing from the Asian community as a whole. Chinese, Japanese, South Koreans are really behind Andrew Yang. See, they understand the necessity to organize under one umbrella. But if you explain that to these guys, they don't get that. They think that, I can just go to the right and not do anything, and then I can come here and just troll you. And it's like, no, this is bigger than what you're trying to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we are, man. And it's just that, this stuff needs to stop. And it's like we can't get any actual progress if this stuff keeps up. And I think the leaders of yesterday made a grave mistake of not setting aside the fact that you cannot have these people part of the conversation. And they should have destroyed any type of political organizing that they were doing to actually stop people from participating in the actual process. Just like they did when it came to actually telling people in the black church to stop or even discourage people from actually showing up to vote, and gave them tax-free status so that way they can actually trade for doing that. All right, go ahead, Renaissance. Hello?
I think Renaissance stepped away.
No, I'm still here. Sorry, I was on mute. I was going to say the one thing when you brought up the Andrew Yang, it's funny because I've even heard, people come from the angle of, and you even hear people on the right, like a Thomas Sowell suggest this of, look at the Asian community. They don't vote and they're moving ahead of everyone. I'm just like, yeah, when you look at their numbers, they definitely participate in local politics. And the only reason you don't see them on that high of a level in national politics is because it's just numbers. And I'm like, now numbers are getting bigger. You have someone like Yang who's ran for president, running for mayor of a major city. Like no other group is going to advocate for not being involved politically except ours.
Yeah, and what people don't understand is, like, in Denver, there's a lot of people who actually get married to come to the United States, so both of those people, even though they don't know anything about each other, can have a better chance together by coming here as a married person. Because you get housing a hell of a lot faster as a married couple versus being a singular individual. So you have to understand, man, that when people come here, they hit the ground running. They see this opportunity and they want a piece of it. They don't want to sit here and be on this nonsense all the time, man. They actually want to do something with the opportunity that's here. The only thing the other people want to do is make sure that people think that there's no opportunity, so that way they don't engage in it. And we can't have that. You got to put these people on the spot. And that moves to my fifth and final point is, what are you doing now? What are you doing right now? And I think we should have this conversation once a month, so that way we can keep our foot on these people's necks and show you that these people are not serious. What's going on, Wacky Word O? It's either going to be Andrew Yang or Maya Wiley who's going to be the next mayor of NYC. Yeah. That's what it is. Because the black conservatives can't even prove that they're actually doing something whenever black people get shot or the justice system do something terribly wrong to actual black people. None of that stuff. Like, they can't claim that they're actually organizing to do anything over there. They can't do that. So that's what I'm saying. You have to understand that this space has turned into a space where they want educated, well-to-do people to lose against the people who are uninformed. That's the show that the Manosphere is actually turned into. It's supposed to be a place where we actually come here, do the stuff we need to do, and move on. It's not that. You got people who claim it's just a lot of unsubstantiated claims, and you can't make those claims that you're pro anything except for the entire situation that's currently going on within the environment. Because if you were, there will be proof of it happening, but there is no proof.
Yeah, that's a problem with, you could argue with all conservatives really, that they suffer from is, when these events happen and people are looking like, okay, where are the conservatives on this? They're nowhere to be found. And that's the main knock on any conservative across the board. I think Sandman talks about that is, they feel like, hey, these guys don't call out racism or any sort of major event. They just sort of give everything a pass.
Yeah. That's the only thing. Mike, what we're going to play first, we're going to play that actual video by Ben Sasse, and then we're going to go to the video about David Pakman versus Jesse Lee Peterson.
If you can give me hosting privileges.
All right, hold on a second. Because this is very important for people to watch.
The Nebraskans every day.
Wait, hold on a second. Wait, hold on a second. Let me give you the host privileges first.
Yep.
Hold on. More, then co-host. There you go. Show his face on the screen first, and then just play the actual video without the actual screen actually being up. Because I'm not sure where we can play that or not.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah. And before you play it, no black conservative within this space has made things as clearly and as plainly as Ben Sasse has actually made it. But for some reason, you're going to see one thing over the other.
I listen to Nebraskans every day, and very few of them are as angry about life as some of the people on this committee. Not all of you, but a lot. Political addicts don't represent most Nebraska conservatives. Let's be clear. The anger in the state party has never been about me violating principle or abandoning conservative policy. I'm one of the most conservative voters in the Senate. The anger has always been simply about me not bending the knee to one guy. What Americans saw 3 weeks ago was ugly. Shameful mob violence to disrupt a constitutionally mandated meeting of the Congress to affirm that peaceful transfer of power. It happened because the president lied to you. He lied about the election results for 60 days, despite losing 60 straight court challenges, many of them handed down by wonderful Trump-appointed judges. He lied by saying that the vice president could just violate his constitutional oath and declare a new winner. That wasn't true. He then riled a mob that attacked the Capitol, many chanting, "Hang Pence." If that president were a Democrat, we both know how you'd respond. But because he had Republican behind his name, you're defending him. Something has definitely changed over the last 4 years, but it's not me. Personality cults aren't conservative. Conspiracy theories aren't conservative. Lying that an election has been stolen, it's not conservative. Acting like politics is a religion, it isn't conservative. Nebraskans aren't rage addicts, and that's good news. You are welcome to censure me again, but let's be clear about why this is happening. It's because I still believe, as you used to, that politics isn't about the weird worship could purge Trump skeptics. But I'd like to convince you that not only is that civic cancer for the nation, it's just terrible for our party.
Yeah, very true. Why isn't any black conservative within this space talking as clearly and as plainly as that guy just did? A lifelong conservative. He didn't just become conservative at all. Ben Sass, who I definitely agree with on everything, that dude is 100% right.
You never hear them mention Michael Steele.
Never.
Not once do they ever mention him. And for whatever reason, they don't seem to think that he has any credibility, but they have more credibility than he does somehow.
Well, you have to remember, Mike, some of them just figured out who he is. So I guess they're still doing the research.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's just where we're at right now. So you have to understand this. These people are merely here to fuckery fundraise. They're grifters. They have to take one piece or another and try to leverage how good they think they are with women, despite the outcomes that they personally have, and street culture. That's all they got. And now they followed up with a guy who had his way with women, so they thought. And this is the only reason why they was with that guy. It didn't make any sense. And you just have to understand, this is just where we at with politics right now. No one else has this kind of problem with politics because everybody can't benefit from progress. Most of these people are benefiting from stagnation. So we can actually show the David Pakman clip. So before you actually play it, this is what happens when a person is conservative for reasons why they cannot even think that they're conservative, but for some reason wants to show up to actual debate, actual policy issues when they know nothing about any of that stuff. So let's play that, Mike.
Is it me or did MOT's mic go out?
Yeah, his mic went out. He was just saying you could play it.
All right.
Something like that. And you can do counseling under the heading of your ministry.
Wow. And that insurance doesn't cover that, right?
It does.
It does. In California,
Oh, yeah.
You can go to a counselor who's just a minister and it's considered a medical visit.
100%. As a matter of fact, it's better that you come to me than the people with the degrees.
Well, that's an opinion. That's an opinion, but I'm
because
concerned
if
with
you
the legal
notice-
piece.
If you know, and by the way, we are friends, David, even though I had to throw you off one day, we still friends. Sometimes I throw my friends off.
Okay, fair.
But it's better that you come to me than a person with a degree, because if you notice the educated people are dumb, they have no sense.
I've not noticed that. I've not noticed that.
And they end up giving the people just before the people run out of money, they give them medication because the therapist the trained therapists and counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists have no common sense.
Well, but a lot of
understand
the
how to
people you
deal
just
with the
mentioned,
real
a lot of the
issues.
people you just mentioned can't even prescribe medication. So psychologists don't prescribe, neither do social workers. So what you're saying, you know, it's not true, right?
Well, what I'm saying is that people with degrees are dummies. They have no common sense. They're just
Okay.
repeated what someone told them.
I gotcha. All right. Now I understand, because the first thing you said is literally impossible because they can't prescribe. But
I'm
listen,
glad
Jesse,
to hear that.
you're glad to hear that. Good. And you can't prescribe. You're not prescribing anything, I'm guessing.
No.
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 Okay, good.
Yeah.
So listen, Jesse, we're on the precipice here of an election. And the reason I wanted to talk to you is to figure out because you're such a master of policy, economics and trade and all of these things. I wanted to figure out where you are on Trump and policy. So just to begin with, I mean, you approve of the job the president is doing, right?
He's done an amazing job thus far, in spite of the children of the lie.
Yeah.
And the children of the lie, the liberal media, the Democratic Party, the never Trumpers, the right-on Republicans, the black race hustlers, and the radical homosexuals. They have been against him, and our enemies overseas as well. But in spite of that, he's done an amazing job. So 4 more years of the great white hope.
Yeah. And when you talk about the job that Trump has done, just to pick something to really dig into and make this, I want to take the interview seriously, and, hopefully it won't devolve the way some of the prior interviews have. Let's take economics and taxation, for example. Do you like the Trump tax plan? And if so, what do you like about it?
Well, thus far, I like the fact that he has cut back on taxes. He's giving more money to the workers rather than taking it. I like the fact that he has made it easier for small businesses to get going. Even though we have a Chinese virus situation right now, so the economy has stopped a little bit, but it's starting to come back. And due to the tax cuts and regulations,
but let's pick something. Let's pick one thing. What has Trump done to make it easier for businesses to get going?
By cutting back on so many rules and regulations that the Democrat had established.
Like what's an example of such a rule?
I don't have anything in mind right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of the rules and regulations that was preventing small businesses from starting have been taken away by the Great White Hope.
What would be, so give me I know that there's dozens and dozens, but what's one such rule that was taken away that now makes it easier to start a business?
Nothing come to mind right now.
Is there anything that you can remember even seeing at any time?
Nothing come to mind at
Nothing.
This time.
Wow.
No.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's stick with economics just for a moment. What do you think the top marginal tax rate should be for top earners?
Good question, man. I don't know. I haven't thought about it at this point.
Is it too high or too low currently?
So what now?
I'm sorry?
What did you say? Your phone went out for a minute. What did you say?
I said, do you think the current top marginal tax rate is too high or too low?
I'm not sure at this time, David.
You're not sure. So
No.
How do you know that Trump's tax plan is good if you don't even know what tax rates are and how he changed them?
Well, because I have not been focusing on that lately. I have more important things to think about and
Okay.
do. That has not been one of my primary focus at this point.
All right. Well, let's take a different topic then. Donald Trump made a huge deal during the campaign.
I just want to pause it right here. Is it me, or does the talking points sound just like a lot of the black male conservatives in this space?
Yeah, no, it sounds like he got it one from one. Even the shirt, it sounds like he just got it one from one from the Manosphere. And it's funny because you start asking him about what rule change. Well, what do you think the tax rate should be? I haven't thought about it. It's just all good because it's Trump.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're dealing with.
And the crazy thing is, this guy has a industry that gives him, tons of money to go and spew this stuff.
Yeah, and like I just said in the chat, any black YouTube conservative would sound just like this if they can't say left, communist, socialist, feminist, LGBTQ, or talking about abortion. This is exactly what is under this. Nothing, a shell of a person. They are deliberately wanting the women to win. wanting it to win. I mean, I know the other guy is making an actual live stream about me talking about the Mississippi mudflap. Dude, I don't even live there anymore. I'm moving on to better circumstances because I got myself up out of there, went to the military, and did shit. Now, here's the difference between me and that guy. He never left this fucking city, which is why he's still in the same circumstances. There was no progression to stop talking about street shit. Street shit is the something that he's actually trying to do. But keep going, Mike. Keep going.
Yeah, and so his talking points are not that much different, despite the fact that he's in his 70s and has had at least 40 plus years to understand what conservatism was about, and hasn't actually done so. Can't even name not one law, the tax policy wise, that Trump passed that he can
reference.
He can reference and acknowledge.
He's just saying he won, he's better. What reason? No reason. And it's like, yeah, man, just keep playing it. But this is what you have within this space when you have people who don't declare sides but have these actual talking points that sound exactly like this guy. He doesn't know anything.
Sounds like Trade MBD.
Yeah.
In 2016 and now about trade with China, trade with Mexico and Canada. Do you believe that Donald Trump has fulfilled his campaign promises on trade, or do you believe he has fallen short?
He has not fallen short, but he has not completed them at this time. That's why we have to, one of the reasons, but not the only, that we have to do 4 more years.
Yeah.
So he can finalize the trade deals that he is working on.
What would you like to see him do on trade that he's not yet done?
To make sure that America is being treated fairly in trade deals, and that we're not giving away or being used as we have been in the past in those ways.
Interesting. So Donald Trump yesterday at his rally said that he fixed China, that now China has to treat us fairly because he fixed it. And he says that he fixed Canada and Mexico with USMCA. So they're now treating us fairly. So who's left that's not treating us fairly on trade?
Did he mention that yesterday? I didn't hear that at all.
It was either yesterday or, I mean,
Maybe
the rallies are blending together. Maybe it was the day before.
Did he say who was left that he has to deal with?
No, I'm asking you, who do you think is still treating us
unfairly? You need to call the White House.
No idea.
Yeah.
Say that, Hamilton.
He said he has no idea. And now you're going to hear where he keeps referring to, well, just ask the president, like he's your boy. You're supposed to know this. So just watch for the next 3 minutes how this guy tried to get his way out of knowing anything about the guy who he claims is doing a good job. Go ahead, man.
Person, and they can answer those questions for you. I have no idea.
Well, but I guess what I'm trying to understand, Jesse,
I'm not in government, so you're asking me the wrong questions.
Right, but so you asserted that you like a lot of what Trump accomplished on trade,
right,
but believe that, but hold on, Jesse. Hold on, Jesse, though. No, hold on, Jesse. Hold on.
Asking about, David, you have to call the White House.
You're going to have plenty of time to answer. Let me just get the question out. You asserted that you like some of what he did on trade, but you want to see him do more. I'm saying, what more should he do?
I have no idea, David.
You don't know.
He knows, so you should call them and ask them. You're asking me the wrong question.
Oh, that's interesting, because it sounds like you don't really know what's going on.
Not just totally, no.
No,
not
okay.
in that area, and I'm not concerned about that either.
Well, but you mentioned it as something you liked, so it must concern you to some degree.
I like what the president is doing and has done as far as bringing jobs back, as far as some of the trade deals he's done. But for more information, you should contact them.
But you don't think you should be an informed voter? You're wasting your time.
I just told you should contact them. Don't you understand? It's hard to understand?
No, it's actually coming through clearer than ever.
If you want to continue, you need to move on, because you're asking the wrong person.
And so this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, this is exactly what we're dealing with.
In the manosphere, this is the sort of thought process that says, I like what he's doing. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but I like what he's doing. And you're asking the wrong questions. And so therefore we need to just move on. Hashtag move on.
No, Mike. You need to call the White House. Why are you talking to him?
Like you can't make this up. Like, you need to call the White House to ask them their positions, but I support them.
Yeah.
It's a cult of personality, and
I am been in it. I ain't in it. Call the White House.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that when you traditionally look at politics, that's been the accusation that people on the right have leveled against Democrats, is that they're a cult of personality.
Yes.
That they do that Republicans are the ones of facts and opinions.
This is why none of these black conservatives are invited on any show to talk about anything. Because once they shift to conservative policies, you would just get clowned out the room. You don't know anything. The only thing you can do is misdirect the conversation to fit in with the current level of ignorance there. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. I mean, but this is where we are, and this is why we can't get anywhere. You have one side of the debate that cares about the outcome, and you got another side of the debate can't even prove that they're organizing on their side. Mm-hmm. They can't even prove what they're actually doing. They're just part of the movement. Well, I just voted over here. It doesn't mean anything. $4.99 super chat, both man. Yeah, letting the video speaks for itself. This is who you have within the manosphere. They don't even want to even research the history because they would look crazy trying to say that they're conservative. Yes, Candace Owens and Diamond and Silk. This is what these dudes are doing. Just sashaying their way across the actual screen. That's it. Because these people allow them on. And the moment a white person, and it's going to take somebody who's white to go on TV to point out, why do you have ABL, Jesse Lee Peterson, Candace Owens? Why do you have these people on TV playing a method actor role of trying to make black people look stupid if they're on the right? That's all it is. Crazy.
You know what's interesting is that we had Renaissance and myself had this conversation last week on the panel, Art Newstall's panel. Shout out to Art Newstall. And there was a person who made the same exact commentary, word for word. I like Trump's trade. Trump did really good with trade policy. The trade war with China was really good for America. Oh, really? Was it? Oh, really? So what is it? How exactly did it benefit black men? Well, you know, it brought back jobs. Which jobs? Well, he brought back manufacturing. Which manufacturing? Well, what happened to the carrier deal? That went to Mexico. Oh,
twerking,
okay.
Man. Twerking, man. Like,
what happened to Foxconn? Yeah, what do you mean about Foxconn? You have to contact the White House and see what they say about Foxconn.
yeah. It's like, man, like every time he asked a question, I just heard throw that ass in a circle. Like that's all I heard from this dude. But I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I'm just here twerking. I'm right wing, but I can't tell you why. Mm-hmm. He's doing a good job. A good job on what? Call the White House, man. Don't be asking me nothing like that. Like, this is where we at, man.
And they articulate Trump's position. Well, he's not really a conservative. Now they're saying he's not a conservative. They say, well,
he's not in the White House.
Yeah. Well, he's not really a conservative. He's a populist. Yeah, he's a populist on the right, not a populist on the left.
So you're a very strong advocate of the president, and you powerfully say on your program people should vote for him, but you seem unable to articulate what he's actually done.
About those things you just asked, I have no idea. I'm not even concerned.
Okay. How would you tackle climate change, Jesse?
No such thing.
Okay. And elaborate on that.
It's a made-up lie by the liberal Democrats in order to get more money and power and control the people. Climate change is fake.
You know, in some countries, climate change is much less politicized. In other words, you might have scientists who are conservative and scientists who are liberal, and they all agree about it. Why do you think in other countries, even the conservative scientists accept the science on climate?
I have no idea, but in America, climate change is fake.
This is what we're dealing with.
Yes.
This is exactly what we're dealing with in the manosphere. You know, communist Russia, communist China, socialism. It's in America, it's fake. All right, end the discussion. All right, man. Contact the White House if you want any more information about that. Kelly McIntyre will help you out with that. All right, man.
Yeah. uh, but
In
but you have to realize this is what's going on here, and this is why these people have to be out here making it look like they're right because they have no actions that declare them as being right.
Mhm.
Well,
America, it's fake.
maybe in those, I don't know for sure, but
Yeah.
maybe in those other countries, they're controlling the people because the people are weak-minded and they allow themselves to be controlled by lies.
Interesting.
Maybe.
And
But
that's
climate
happening.
change is fake.
That's happening in other countries.
Well, maybe. I don't know for sure what's going on in other countries, but
Yeah.
in my country, climate change is fake.
Are you you're of course in coastal California, which is a place that if the sea level continues to rise could have flooding problems. We've also seen a number of prominent conservatives abandon California for more politically conservative parts of the country. Is that something you're thinking about?
About abandoning California?
Yeah, because it's so liberal.
Not at this time. At one time, for the first time in I've been here since 1968.
Yeah.
It did cross my mind, but I'm not ready to pack up and run at this time. I believe that that California will come back to become a conservative state because the Democrats have done a good job in screwing it up when it comes to illegal aliens, homelessness, now the lockdown from the so-called Chinese virus, the fires, the high taxes.
And even with all of that, Jesse, you still prefer it to other conservative parts of the country after decades. That's interesting.
Because I love California. I
Right.
like the well, it used to be beautiful at one time.
Yep.
I like the opportunities in California and just an amazing state. We just need to get the Democrats out and replace it with conservative Republicans.
wait. So he says he likes the opportunities. He likes California. We just need to get the Democrats out. And he blames Democrats for the fires in California.
He doesn't believe in climate change. No climate change. It's fake. And
Mike,
doesn't want to leave though.
Yeah, but Mike, but here's the thing about all these guys in the manosphere. They all live in blue areas. None of these dudes live out in the middle of nowhere where there ain't no government services. Okay, so they're conservatives living in blue areas, and then they claim that they're conservative, but they don't live in conservative areas. Mississippi is open. Arkansas is open. Iowa is open. Nebraska's open. The Dakotas are open. Montana's open. Come on, dude. Yeah.
No, I mean, this is what we're dealing with. Everybody who's on the panel, Mr. Fantastic and all these other panels, they all live in blue states.
Yeah.
All live in blue states. Now that Georgia is blue, it's wrong for being blue, but the opportunities that comes out of it, I like those opportunities. I don't want to leave. It never really crossed my mind to leave. We just need to get the Democrats out who created all these opportunities that I seem to like so much. Let's get rid of them and then put our own people in charge. That's exactly what the Black community has been saying all this time. Let's get rid of all these educated Negroes in here. What do we need all these people representing us for? Let's put Ice Cube up there. Let's get my guy up there. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, this is what they want. Because, see, here's the thing about these dudes who are conservative, who claim to be conservative. They're not producers, because if they could have built an entire community without educated people, they already would have done that.
Mm-hmm.
They already would have done it. And guess what? They played God. They had their pathetic attempt. Look at the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And now they want people to chase what made them a man. And that's not going to happen.
It's interesting that they don't think that you can be masculine and be progressive at the same time. But somehow you could be masculine and be conservative. What is that? If you're from the streets, what are you conserving, really, in your masculinity? What does that really entail? Let me play this.
Right. And you think you'll like it even more if Republicans take over California?
If they're conservatives and not rhinos, I believe that we can put it back to a normal state of being prior to the Democrats completely taking over.
What's something really specific in terms of the law that you'd like to see California do differently? It could be anything. It could be on, guns. It could be on economic policy. Like, what would you like to see changed in California from a legal standpoint?
Well, number one, I would like to see the borders closed, shut down completely so the illegals cannot come in. I would like to see laws that says we will not and cannot and shall not pay for so-called health care for illegal aliens or anyone who is unwilling to work for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see lower taxes for home buyers, land buyers, and people like that. The restriction as far as the Second Amendment, they
Right.
need to take their hands off our Second Amendment. We have the right to buy bullets,
Wow.
to own whatever gun we want, and have as many as we want. I would change some of those rules.
We're going to go to a break on the podcast, but my full conversation.
You know, interesting, right?
Yeah.
So lower taxes, right? When you have Republicans in charge, the rate for taxes was 70%. That's how America was able to finance a lot of the infrastructure and development and whatnot. That was under Republican leadership.
Yeah.
So how can you say that lower taxes, you would like to see lower taxes, but you don't know what the tax rate is 5 minutes ago? How does that work? You don't know if it's too high, if it's too low. I have more important things to think about and things to do. Contact the White House. What are we dealing with here?
I mean, but this is what happens when you have a conservative who know he's coming to talk about policy. He has, like, David Pakman, that dude schedules guests out like 30 some days. I talked to somebody who's actually a part of his. Yeah, like, you know, he just don't call somebody up out of their sleep. It's like, bro, you've been a conservative for the past 40 something years and you know nothing about policy, nothing about anything. This is what it is.
Been in California since 1968.
Yes, never left.
1968. So what are the we just need to get rid of the Democrats. But it was the Democrats who gave you all these opportunities that you seem to love so much. Let's just put somebody more conservative in charge. Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't conservative enough for you?
Magically, he had nothing to say while he was in charge, even though he was doing all this leftist, quote unquote leftist type stuff because he's married to a damn Kennedy. Come on, man.
Conversation with Jesse Lee Peterson will, of course, be published to our YouTube channel in full. No edits, Jesse. You know we never edit anything you say. Listen, you mentioned you want to shut down the border. I'm curious. A lot of Americans in California, Arizona, Texas, they go to Mexico for medical care because they can't afford it here in the United States. Do you want to shut that down as well? Do you want to stop Americans from going to Mexico for medical care?
I don't want to stop them from going. They can go anywhere they want to for it, but I don't want us to have to pay for illegal alien health care in our country. And we should, in our state or in our country, period.
Okay.
But we definitely should not be a sanctuary state or city. I would definitely change that.
So who would be picking the strawberries and all the vegetables and things that you seem to buy so much from Whole Foods, man?
Well, that's where they want black men to get jobs. They want, the immigrants are taking those jobs from black men, so they want black men to be able to go and pick vegetables and work in agriculture instead of getting skills and moving up and becoming skilled tradesmen, professionals.
Crazy.
Damn illegals.
But you could be free. You're American. You can go wherever you want to get health care. That's up to you.
Should Americans be more free than citizens of other countries?
America should be. We are the light of the world, and we absolutely should be free. It's up to the other folks in their country to determine how much freedom they want.
But if other countries determine that their citizens should be as free as Americans should be, you have no problem with that, right?
If that's what they want, they can do whatever they want in their country. I'm only concerned about my country.
Speaking of our country, Jesse, when we watch your program and we hear these impassioned critiques of the things that are going wrong in the United States that you issue, one can't help but wonder, what country has it right? When you look around the world, Jesse, because you have so many, criticisms of the United States, what country do you see that is getting it right on certain issues that you think we should emulate?
We shouldn't emulate any of those countries. They are to emulate us
Okay.
because we're the best and the greatest country on this side of heaven.
Yeah.
We are the example of what other countries should become.
But let
Even
me see
though-
if I can
even though-
rephrase it. Okay.
Even though the Democrats have screwed it up a lot, the president is making it great again.
Right.
But we are the example for the rest of the world.
Okay. So let me see if I can frame it in a different way. You point to a lot of things that you say Democrats have done very poorly. And you've said that this includes in California, but also around the country. What examples would you point to say to the Democrats, here's how you should do it? Is there a state that's doing it right? Is there a country that isn't? I'm not saying a country's better than us, but for example, like, is Saudi Arabia getting it right on capital punishment in your mind? Or is North Korea getting it right when it comes to how to control the media? Do you see anything you like there?
The first thing that comes to mind that the Democrats have clearly done to our country is to divide the races in order to conquer, divide and conquer. And that is, they have lied and said that there's such thing as police brutality, racism, white supremacists,
Okay.
all this stupid ism that they'll come up with.
Isms.
Those are lies. And the ism doesn't exist in our country, but they have managed to use those words in order to divide and conquer.
Beautiful.
I would love to get rid of those words and let the people know that there's no ism. It's either right or wrong, good or evil. You either
Never mind that there are self-identified white supremacists in America. They don't even hide it. But Democrats made it up, though.
Yeah.
That's what we are. And it's like, the reason why we're playing this clip is to show you this is what's underneath, and the reason why conservatives can't talk about policy, because policy regards history. And if the reason why you're conservative is to deny history and misrepresent it at its root, this is exactly what you would sound like without misrepresenting history. This is exactly what you would sound like. Again, my job here is to educate and inform people, not to mislead based on the fact that nothing's moving. I get nothing out of black men not organizing. I get nothing out of that. The people who want to sit here and grift, they get a lot out of things not changing. This is why they want to talk about BWs, LGBTQ, and feminism and abortion, because they can't talk about policy, because policy requires you to talk about history. And these people don't know history, so they troll and sashay their way through actual conversations to which they know they're not going to be called on anything, because they're there to provide a show. They're not here to provide something else other than a show. What's going on here?
you're on the side of evil or you're on the side of good, and so that we can become one nation
Right.
under God again. I would unite the country in that way. The first thing I would do.
I love it. So when you say you want to get rid of those words,
Yes.
would you ban the words? Would you outlaw the teaching of those words in school? Like, schools can't use the word racism. How do you do that?
I definitely wouldn't ban the word.
Did you say,
But I
I'm
would
sorry, you
not
said
allow-
you would or you
would
would
not-
not? You would or you
I
would
would
not?
ban the
Okay.
word. You can't ban the word.
Got it.
But I would not allow the schools to teach that to the children and brainwash them
Got it.
in order to do what we see that they have done to the young folks already.
Got it. So school curriculum could not include the word racism.
That's right, because it doesn't exist.
Right.
It's a brainwashing technique to use to divide. We are Americans. We are America. We are one nation under God.
Yeah.
And those words tend to divide us.
Would you ban, and so you don't want any isms taught in school?
No racism, no sexism, no homophobism, no
Homophobic
Allah Akbarism, no white supremacism, and no anti-Semitism. No ism. It's either right or wrong, good or evil.
Now, I'm sure you also then would say that when Republicans use the isms socialism and communism, that's also divisive, right? And wrong.
No, because there is socialism. Look at the Democratic Party.
Oh.
Look at the mindset of most Black people. They are socialists in their mind, in that they rely on the government to do for them and tell them when and where and how, rather than doing for themselves. As a matter of fact, that's what the Democrats want to do by way of the government, is to control the people by giving them things and thinking for them and providing, rather than the folks providing for themselves.
Who is a
So-
prominent Democrat who's a
Socialism and
socialist?
communism exists.
Who is a prominent Democrat that's a communist?
Wow, that's a good one. You know those 4 radical women that who are those stupid women? The one from New York and Detroit. What? Yeah, the Squad. Those are perfect example of communism. I can't think of the name. They're so stupid.
Sure. So they
Cortez, I believe, from New York. That's a nutcase. I don't even understand why anyone would even listen to her.
right.
Let's more vote for her. But you have the other one out of what? Yeah, Ilhan Omar and another.
And what communist?
Wait, hold on a second. Mike, stop right here. Mike, stop right here. You can get help for all those things, but you couldn't get help on policies that you agree with? What?
I think that's his
Who is he
caretaker.
talking to?
I think that's his caretaker.
Oh man. Go ahead, man. Wow.
Policy have they advocated for?
They want to take care of the people.
They want to
They
take care of the
want
people.
Think for the people. They want to give free health care, free everything for the folks. Not all are they evil, it's pure communism.
Jesse, do you know what communism is?
Yes.
What is it?
The people, when someone else want to control you, it's about controlling other people.
Communism is controlling other people. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the response you get in this manosphere.
Yeah, that's right.
Black male
What is
conservatives,
Yeah.
yeah, black male conservatives always reach to the 3 isms: communism, Marxism, socialism. And they can never point out which policies and which politician is really looking for this sort of ism that they're so in fear of. And so when he asked them to articulate and explain what communism was, he gave a culture warrior talking point. The government wants to control you. So on one hand, he likes the government in California that provides all these opportunities that you know he can grift from and benefit from. But on the other hand, he doesn't like, you know, the government interfering in other areas that, you know, he benefits from. And so when you talk about communism, he has no frame of reference to really
None.
refer to. And
No
so,
history.
just like this, the way his face looks right now, that's what you get in the manosphere. You get all these guys who the ism, AOC +3 or the Squad or whatever you want to call them, they don't even know what policies that they're passing because they don't even look at, you know, the bills that get presented or brought up. And so there's no way to identify what's communism, what's socialism, what's Marxism in these conversations.
Yeah, man. This is the first certified case of revitiligo, man. So let's let the dude rock, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Renaissance, you got anything?
Okay.
No, I'm good.
All right, yeah.
You've really said a lot here, and you know, I'm doing the best I can to sort of keep up with all of it. Tell me, when you look at Donald Trump, you've told us all of the things that you think he's done great, except then you said you don't really care about those things like economics and trade and all of that stuff.
I care about them, but that's not my thing. I don't pay a lot of attention to that.
Right. So here's my question. Are you able to identify anything you don't like that Donald Trump has done?
I don't know how much I agree with him on letting the inmates out of the prisons.
Mm. Which
I'm not
inmates
sure
are which
about
inmates are
that, so
those? Which inmates are
sorry?
those? Which inmates are those?
you know how they let a lot of the prisons out by saying that they're there because they sold pot or their crime wasn't bad enough to keep them in prison, some kind of dumb stuff like that.
You don't
I
like
don't
that?
know how much I support that because I haven't had time to really look into that. I just feel that if you do the crime, you should do the time, and it doesn't matter what color you are.
Right.
I'm not in total support of that.
And did you
And,
yeah.
and one other
Sure.
that might make you feel good on the inside. I don't like the fact that when right now there's a position open on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yes.
I don't like the fact that he is nominating a woman just because it's a woman.
Really?
In America, it should be the best qualified person, and not even say, "Hey, I'm gonna put a woman there, or I'm
Right.
gonna put a man there, I'm gonna put a black there, I'm gonna put a homosexual there, or anything like that." But I'm gonna look and find the best person that's qualified,
Right.
and that's the person I'm gonna put in that position. That is the American way.
So it's sort of identity politics that Trump is playing
Yeah.
in a sense.
On this part, I don't like that. No.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Or he's
Certainly,
playing right
yeah.
into the hands of the Democrats. When you do that, and you and I know that the Democratic Party is an evil party. It has no godly values at all.
You know what's weird about that, Jesse? You're a man of faith, right? And you're a Christian counselor, and all of this stuff.
We also have an entrepreneur academy where we're teaching young men how to start their own businesses, or if they already started, we help them enhance the business. I started a credit union where we loan them the money and they pay it back with small interest. We've been around for 30 years now. Bond, the Brotherhood's organization of a new destiny.
Right.
And
But my
we're
question,
rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man, because most males today are beta males.
Right.
We're men, so we're showing them how to overcome being a beta male.
Okay, so I was trying to keep this from being a cartoonish farce, but it's not clear that that's possible. But to get back to the sort of religious question that you brought up, when I look at Donald Trump and Joe Biden, this is not looking at politics. This is just looking at religion. Like if I were a voter who cared about religion, I look at Biden. He's been a devout Catholic his entire life. He's gone to church since he was a kid. He knows scripture. He understands Catholic teachings. And then I look at Trump, and Trump never went to church until he decided to run for president, never read a Bible, doesn't even know how to hold the Bible. If you ask me which is the religious president, who's the Christian, the candidate, not president, isn't it obviously Joe Biden?
No.
It's not.
Joe Biden, I mean, Satan could quote the scripture for you. Satan could go to a Catholic church.
Okay.
Satan can hold up the Bible, and there is no particular way of holding the Bible. That's a dumb idea.
Wow.
You can hold the Bible wherever you want to hold the Bible.
Okay.
And that's so dumb, I can't even believe that people even mention that.
Wow.
But Joe Biden is a very weak beta male, and it's just because he went to a Catholic. Look at the Pope. The Pope is 10. The Pope wear a beautiful gown.
Oh, the Pope.
And he goes out and pretend he want to greet the people. But if you touch his hand, he's gonna slap it away. And he knows the Bible. He went to Catholic school and Catholic church.
Right.
Just because you go to church or read the Bible doesn't mean that you're a Christian.
Oh, are you? That's interesting.
Christianity better than Joe Biden could ever think of what a Christian is. Joe Biden doesn't even know he's in America right now.
Which Christian value do you think Donald Trump most strongly embodies?
Perfect love.
For who?
All people.
Wow. That's incredible, Jesse.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Are you kind of?
Shazam! I mean, this is what you get in the man spit. Word for word. Trump's, we don't see color over here. Didn't we just hear that last week? We don't see color. But the majority of people who stormed the Capitol were white. And the one black male who got arrested can't get out.
Yeah, like Battle Axe and everybody else. I know this guy's making a live stream about me. It's actually even dumber that you motherfuckers go over there and watch a complete guy who don't know what the fuck he's talking about, leveraging street culture in 2021, and you think I give a fuck about that shit? That's on you dumb niggas. But go ahead, man.
I'm getting the sense that you're not really that into Catholicism. Is that accurate?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I know a bit more about it now than I did while growing up, because that wasn't in my area where I grew up.
Yeah.
But I'm learning that it's a waste of time and that the Pope is tick.
Sorry, the Pope. What was that word?
What?
What?
ticked. He's upset.
Oh, he's
a
ticked.
beta.
Okay.
He's a beta.
Just to kind of circle back around, can you remind the audience, when you talk about being a beta male and being an alpha male, what are we talking about here?
There are males, most men today,
Yeah.
male, they think and act like a woman. They are emotional. They are mentally off. They have no logic. And that's a beta male. They go along with homosexuality.
Hold on, whoa, Jesse, we got it. That's a lot.
LGBTQ.
That's a lot. Hold on.
They agree with everything that's wrong. Abortion, they think and act just like a woman. A beta male does. But a non-beta male doesn't, because he's a logical thinking. He guides you in the right way to go instead of going along with wrongdoing.
So,
And don't we have this in the manosphere?
Yes, we do. People who think they are conservative and they attach themselves to the outcomes of liberal women. Please make it make sense to me. Please make it make sense.
This is what we deal with on a daily basis in this space for the last 4 years, or the last 3 years, I should say. Initially, they weren't around at the inauguration for Trump, but this is what we're dealing with here. All of the issues that he thinks are beta male are on the left. So
Only exclusively.
Guys who vote on the left are beta males. They, whether it's abortion or equal protection under the law. No. Those are beta male issues. See, real men, they're on the right. They're conservative.
Yeah,
it can make sense. Renaissance man.
Yeah, I'm good.
you said that one of the ways in which a beta male is like a woman is that a woman has mental problems. So you're saying that all women and some beta males, they have mental problems? Is that what you said?
All women who have not grown up close to their fathers have an illogical mindset.
Wow.
They're up and down in the way they think and feel, and they're controlled by the darkness of their imagination. Likewise, males who have not overcome their mothers and returned to their fathers, they have illogical mindsets, just like their mother and just like women.
So it's almost like you've almost taken a bit of a Freudian approach and like perverted it into sort of like your Christian view of that. Is that, am I sort of onto the ideology here?
Well, I have not perverted it. Even God said that we must be born again.
Yeah.
You are born of the woman, and anyone who is born of the woman is dying. But those who are born of the Spirit of God are living. And so I didn't make that up. God did that. You have to call him fraudulent or whatever.
Is this the type of stuff you talk about in these Christian counseling sessions with young men?
You can hear that on my radio show if you go to JesseLeePeterson.com or rebuildingtheman.com.
Right.
Because I get calls about these issues from around the world.
Yeah.
And the same thing is happening, is that their mothers have turned them away from their fathers by playing victim and pretending that the father was a bad guy. She was just a humble little woman, have nothing to do with it. She's a victim, turning the children away from their fathers, recreating them in her image. And she caused the children to become angry. And once you become angry, you become just like the person that you're angry at. That's why in today's America.
Doesn't that sound like someone who's going in right now?
Yeah. Who's not a beta, but his name starts with the natural emotion. And every time you look around, like Morph from the X-Men, he just turns into another person right in front of everybody else's face. And you still got the same 350 some dumbass motherfuckers who show up and hit his shit, man. Like, bro, I like the fact that he's fucking fundraising off you broke ass niggas. This is why I would never hire you motherfuckers. Ever. Yes, go get a job with Angry Man. Go get a job with him.
Let's move forward.
Yeah.
Men are acting just like the women because the fathers are not protecting them from the mothers.
You said, unfortunately, at this point, most men are beta. What percentage of all American men right now, give me the numbers, what percentage are alpha, what percentage are beta?
That's a really good question. I don't know the percentage. I do know that an abnormal amount of men today are beta males,
Yeah.
especially millennials and disease, and some of the older generation as well. But
Mm.
most millennial men and Z's are beta males because there has been an attack among boys and men for the last 60 to 70 years. And the whole idea is to destroy the image of the male and usher in the image of the woman, which is not good for family, and not good for a country,
But
it's not good
ballpark
for the
it for
woman.
me. Ballpark
And
it
it's
for
not
me.
good for the woman because the women are not created to lead. They are created to follow. Women don't have love. They receive love from the man who received it from God. There's
Is
God in
it?
Christ, Christ in man, man
Yeah.
over woman, and woman over
Christ in-
children. That's the order.
Christ.
Is
But the
it?
brothers tend to
Are you gonna say something, Emily?
Yeah, Christian man. I just want to note that. That's what he said.
reverse that order and put the woman over the man, and that would never work.
That's a little nebulous to me. But so would you ballpark it? Are we talking 10% alpha, 20% alpha? What ballpark it?
I absolutely don't know the amount, but I am the percentage.
Yeah.
But I'm stunned at how many men are like women nowadays. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally counsel with men and women across the world. And on my show, I get tons of calls from men and women around the world.
Right.
And the same thing is happening. Women are destroying, and they're starting in the home, and then in the schools and the government and all over the place.
That's interesting. I'm trying to imagine what kind of person would say, I'm struggling with something. Let me call Jesse Lee Peterson for help. I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of such an individual. It's hard to imagine.
Any person that has examined him or herself,
Yeah.
and they know something is wrong, and they hear me talking about it, they will call me to get a better understanding of how to overcome it. But
Wow.
most people are not seekers. They are just out in the world, going along with whatever they hear or see. They have no sense to think for themselves. So it's just a few, because most people are taking the wide road that leads to destruction.
Mm.
For example, you have men who are with women, and the women are controlling them.
Right.
Those are the type of men that are not seeking to overcome and return
In
to
your
the Father.
mind, the man should always control the woman, right?
He should always be the head of the woman. Absolutely.
Wow.
Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Jesse, listen, you really said it all. I do want to just ask about one more thing. Our audience may or may not know you're in your 70s. Are you drinking pomegranate? What are you doing in order to keep that glow?
I don't have any anger in my heart. I only have love, which comes from God. And when you don't have anger, you're not stressed out. You're not worried. You're not having suicidal thought. You're not comparing yourself to others. You're not trying to be like anyone else. You are yourself. You're in a perfect, peaceful place within yourself. So you're not comparing yourself to anyone. When you don't have anger, that's why you have to overcome anger if you want perfect peace.
What? So it's not like you've switched to turkey bacon, or you eat a lot of fruit, or have a kind of some special skin. It's just you're just not an angry guy.
No, I don't have the anger, so I'm not under stress.
And you don't attribute any of it to diet.
No, I do work out.
Oh.
I exercise. I eat in moderation now,
Mm-hmm.
but I do it because I have a self-control now. I don't have to give into all that stuff. And plus, I don't have anger, so I'm not trying to fulfill my an ego.
Right.
Most people who are out of control in the way they eat, have sex, use pot and drink, they have an ego problem. They have an anger problem. That's why we show people how to overcome that anger so they can have peace within themselves. Then they would do all things in moderation.
Wow. And are you off sex altogether now?
I am.
You are.
Because I'm not, only because I'm not married. If I was married, I would not be off sex.
Wow. That's a revelation I think the audience will find compelling.
What's interesting is that conservatives were always, prior to Trump, coming to the office, a lot of these guys would actually articulate their values based on the amount of promiscuity that they can get or they can engage in. And you just had a panel last week with a person named Lucario or something to that effect about game.
Yeah.
How can guys be in proximity to all of that and claim to be conservative?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Belgian, thanks for finding out super that. He was literally a live cartoonist, Boondocks-like version of many characters I've seen on YouTube. Yes, like this dude is a literally walking, talking, breathing Uncle Ruckus. And he doesn't even know that he's supposed to play his part in certain instances and not to go on certain shows where they're going to ask you literal questions that you don't have any answer to. Oh my God.
No. MOT. What's supposed to happen is he's only supposed to come on the show when they have someone who's black and on the left. Then you come on the show and you have this conversation. But you can't just go out and have these random conversations with people because then you'll get exposed.
Yeah.
Right. And that's always been my thing, right? These guys, all these conservative talking points, the men should be at the head and this, and that. They go out in public. How are you engaged in that conversation?
Yeah, man. The dude, at the end of the day, they need special padded rooms to have conversations in. And the padded rooms are certain places within the manosphere where they can come on. And the only thing I got to do is just talk about history, and it X's them out the conversation because they denied history in the first place in order to jump on panels, talk about something that they don't know about. They're non-political, but they have all these right-wing talking points. At the end of the day, listen, man, that dude's still gonna be cool after all this. He gonna get it out. He gonna make like $1,000 off of a lot of people who know damn well they could use an MOT in their life, and then y'all just gonna go back to doing your thing. So, yeah, go ahead, man.
That's the end of the video.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, I already put it in the link in the comments. I think. All right, man. So this is what we're saying. Politics is easy, but when you got people who are hell bent on upholding certain images so that way we can never move forward, this is the stuff that you're going to keep running into. Because I've been here, I'm gonna say 5 or 6 years at least, and I don't think there's ever been any discussion about politics because it was normally circled around and centered on women. And now that we know that whenever they do want to talk about politics, they choose the wrong side. There's an event that happened in history that nobody can be able to explain, but they're not on the left. I'm like, all right, man. At the end of the day, I'm with moving forward, moving black men forward, because doing things in this sort of way is going to have you listening to the new and improved Al Sharptons of tomorrow. And this is what I want to stop it from going on. So that way I point out the tactics that they are using. So that way you can see it coming a mile away. I got outcomes. I don't have to go spreading nothing. I don't have to go on live streams going in. I ain't got to do that. I could just inform, because information is what you need. About the history is what you need. To see what they expect out of black conservatives is what you need to see. No one in this chat is that type of a conservative. Nobody.
No, they can't even identify the conservative principles like Ben Sass did at the beginning of the live stream, or at least when I came on. And so you hear these sort of talking points, and it's always ambiguous and nebulous. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. No, if you ask 5 black male conservatives the principle of conservatism, they can't seem to articulate it correctly or not be consistent with each other on those values. So how can you engage them politically if they can't even identify the principles of their ideology?
Yeah. And Mike, after that article I seen last night, because that guy's in a lot of trouble. Oh, that guy's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and it goes
but you have to understand that the people who claim to be pro-government or pro law was the one who stormed the Capitol, and it's the people who claim that they're more responsible than other people are the people being silent to that action. I want to point that out because no one is actually covering these things. You know, everybody can sit around and troll and do all that kind of other stuff. I'm here for serious conversation so that way you can move forward. At the end of the day, you're going to forget what both people have said, but at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're moving forward in your life because the actual progress is personal. It's not going to be in the chat. Wait, hold on a second.
Well,
Oh, boy.
yeah. And so the thing is for me is that when we have these conversations, it's always one-sided. It's never about what the what's the next step. 5 minutes after this guy leaves office, what's the next step? 5 minutes after the election is over, what's the next steps?
What's the next step?
Yeah, there's no follow-up. There's no organization. Well, you don't know what we're doing offline. Well, why don't your track record doesn't show it online? So how else will we know?
Are they covering the impeachment trial today?
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, I'm out here doing stuff, and you have to realize that these people are not going to cover anything because they're here to benefit off the results of it, regardless of actual investment. That's the key point here. They're here to benefit off the actual investment, regardless of what has been done. Because there's a lot of things conservatively that even I know about that are going on between these states that are actually pretty good. Do they know about it? No, because they're actually trying to make me cover all of their bases so that way they could just grift off the things that I say and talk about to people who's not invested in anything. Here's the thing, man. If you're invested in that image actually winning, good for you. But don't dare think that people in 2021 is going to team up with you because we know who you are now. We know who you are now, and it doesn't matter anymore. We know, and I'm laying the groundwork out front that these people are not serious. People who haven't even declared a political party but is worried about the LGBT and all that. Like, dude, it's a both sides issue. And you have a go ahead.
No, I said illegal immigration.
Oh, both sided issue. Most of these quote unquote illegal immigrants that they claim come to this country, don't you know they go work for all these farmers out in the middle of nowhere?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just all code though.
Yeah.
We know the immigrants they're talking about, and they're not the ones coming from Europe.
Yes. Or Canada. Or Canada.
Right. This is just, we know the Lee Atwater strategy. All I got to do is follow really people don't give a shit about policy. It's all social issues disguised as policy. But
culture warring. That's all it is.
When you wrap up all the things that people believe, all I look at is who does it negatively affect, right? All of the policies that you believe in, the outcome is who does it negatively affect? And it almost always negatively affects brown people. So let's just be clear. Also, there's a difference between being a conservative and being a fucking bootlicking coon. I'm sorry. And let's just be clear. See, what these people have done is they've taken their weirdoism and then try to politicize it. What these people are simply the equivalent of divestors. Okay?
Yes, they are divestors.
They are basically the weirdo. I mean, I hate to say this because I can't prove it, but I know who people are because you just have to listen to them. These are those weirdo ass Black people who feel like they were kind of shunned by the Black community for being different or weird or not being the cool Black guy, right? So they've held this sort of animus toward Black people or the Black community or Black women or whatever it is, the kids wearing Jordans and all that shit. That's why you hear all these little arguments creep in. So we basically have these Black people who have felt ostracized from the community, and then like voting conservatives is just kind of their way of sticking their finger up at Black people, if you will, right? You can kind of hear it in the rhetoric, which is why almost all of the rhetoric is anti-Black kind of rhetoric. It isn't like they're going over there to a different party to make sure that party caters to our issues. It's running over there because you hate Black people because you feel like they didn't love you. And so you feel like running over to that's really what all this shit is about, being different. I mean, people have, and then they're politicizing all of this shit. This is what it's coming down to. When you listen to these dudes, do these sound like happy, fulfilled people? No. Do they sound like they're over there just having the time of their life? They just sound like a bunch of angry, hostile motherfuckers, man. That's just the way it comes across to me, man. And I'm a pretty good judge of character, but I picked that shit up. So all of this is about sticking their finger up at black people, and black people is representative of Democrats, if you will. Most of these motherfuckers don't know shit about politics or international policies or any of this. This is just all Facebook, social media, political arguments. That's all.
Meme-tacular nonsense, and that's all it is. Bellagino,
I just wanted to drop
something?
that, Broski.
All right, cool, man. Thanks for coming through. Bellagino, your last words before we do our round robin about the last comments before we get up out of here. We got to keep it on topic, though. Bellagino, go ahead.
Yes, bro, man. What's up with y'all? Yeah, it's crazy, man. Some of these talking points, man, it's just like they download them and just repeating them with no context. And we see a lot of that, man. Some of these red pill coaches, these political talking points, man, people are just saying it and they don't even make sense. It's look like that dude, man, he's being handled like a puppet. And it's sad as hell, man.
No, but you have to see it. So that way, when you see these talking points appear somewhere else, you would know that there is no basis for any other argument for him being on that side. Like me, I know actual conservatives who can't stand the sight of these type of people, but they can't really say much about it because the conservative movement is top down, Reagan rule, old school Reagan rule. You have to sit there with your mouth closed and don't criticize anybody, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. So what I'm particularly saying is that this is an education on how these things work, because it's very untypical for people who actually represent the things that they represent. There is no way to get to the end point of what they're talking about. There's no way to get there. There's no way to get to black men working together, running over to the conservative side with, those type of talking points. Those type of talking points make people not want to work together, not people to work together. At the end of the day, if you have not declared a party, learn the history of it, prove that you're actually doing something, and actually showing up to vote, it's like, dude, what is this? This is crazy. At the end of the day, it's all about ego, and I'm not with that. At the end of the day, it's either you got facts to prove your case or you don't. Like I said, first beginning of the show, I went through what the actual debate arguments and tactics were of people within this space. And you even seen it on the live stream when I went on Bernard Riley. Bernard Riley was protecting these dudes and just letting these dudes rock out and just hulk out on the panel when I just said simple things to shut down the conversation. What party that you're part of? Nothing. But you have to realize that it's easy to call yourself a conservative. It's always been easy. You were never required to learn history or policy. That's what it is. It's crazy. But that's my last word. Mike, you got any last words before we get up out of here?
Thanks for having me on.
All right, Bellagino, any last words before we get up out of here on the side?
No, we good, bro. You covered everything, man. I hope people listening, man, pay attention to what's being said, man, because it's a lot of us, man. Sometimes some of these people come, they know how to sway you, man, and they say some of the shit that you like to hear, that you want to hear. And if you're not careful, man, before you know, you find yourself in that camp, man. You find yourself believing all these crazy shit, man.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, man, I'm not worried about it because I'm past it. I'm way past even arguing and trying to do all that kind of stuff. I'm already for it. I'm already ahead. I don't have to go down and reach down and actually try to deal with people who don't even have any point of being here other than trying to make sure that they survive at the expense of everybody else within the group. And this is the only reason why most of these people are here, because they lost their actual chance to be actual productive individuals in their own life. So I want to thank you guys for coming through. I'm the man tomorrow. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. On Saturday, we're going to talk about the different teams of people on educated effery. So that way you can see why the actual educated people among us have decided to actually side with the worst people within Black America rather than form our own group like we need to and kick these people out. I want to thank you guys for coming through. I want to thank the people who super chatted today. That is, hold on a second. Justin March, R. Jizzle, Roosevelt, number 16, twice. RBR, Bofaman, Bellagino, twice. I want to thank y'all for coming through. We got to be able to move forward, but you have to see the actual reasons of why we can't move forward to actually go forward. I want to thank you guys for coming through, and you guys have a really nice day. Peace.